just had people out there. I was waiting for them to come in, but oh well. Good morning. You ready? All right, and let's do this. Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. My name is Steve Wilkie and my pronouns are he, him. I am a member of the worship committee. We are glad you could join us this Sunday, either in person or online. If you're a visitor or a newcomer, I'd like to extend a special welcome. And if you are new to the congregation, be sure to fill out a newcomer form found in the live stream description or in the lobby of the church. Please join us for coffee and conversation in Fellowship Hall downstairs after the service. If you're attending online, you can connect with each other in the chat, and don't forget that link for virtual coffee hour that can be found in your weekly e-news. We welcome families with children, all two of them. Families with children are invited to connect with the RE committee after the service for more information about our RE program. There are several announcements this morning. Jazz Sunday has not been canceled. It has been transformed into Razzmatazz Sunday. Now, we have read that every week, but I wanted to do it again because it's not very often that I get to say Razzmatazz and use my jazz hands in a conversation. Spring forward with us next Sunday on March 9th with Greg Holtzel, the jazz crew, and lay leaders Sarah Dashner and Pamela Geppert. Be there. And Sue Fazio. I should add that to the script, but okay. Always Sue Fazio. I should just add that to everything I say. Be there or be square. All right, today marks the beginning of the 2025 canvas. Emily and Aaron will make an announcement during the service. Since everyone is here 5 minutes early, you probably all qualify as diehard UUers, right? So even though we are not going to have any pyrotechnics or canvas dancers, I've been told that all of my suggestions aren't always like that appreciated, just saying. But anyway, everyone here, make sure you do your ooh, ah, oh. We don't need to practice that, right? You guys got that? Okay, cool. Hey, Sue. All are invited to, oh, by the way, act like I didn't say anything. Just act like it's totally normal. All are invited to join us on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025 at 6:30 for an Ash Wednesday service. We will gather in the Dotson Room for readings, reflections, and songs as we reflect on the ministry of Jesus and how it guides us as we practice our faith. There will be a Zoom link for those not attending in person. There is a sign-up sheet in Fellowship Hall, and you can sign up online. The link is in the e-news. A Zoom link will be emailed to those signing up on the day of the service. There will be also an opportunity to sign up in Fellowship Hall. Are you interested in participating in a moment of reflection and ritual? Do you want to engage in a spiritual practice that honors both our confusion and wisdom? Do you like smashing pottery? Oh, on purpose. If you have answered yes to any of those questions, you may want to join Reverend Sabrina in a ceremony to hallow those uncertain times. Sunday, March 23rd and April 6th, we will be conducting the Broken Hole Bowl ritual at 11:30 in the chapel. Sign up in Fellowship Hall. Please let us know if you will need a ceramic pottery bowl, a napkin, or a hammer, or all three. Not having these items should not be an obstacle to participate. Okay. Against my better judgment, we have a special guest who wants to talk to you about the unfished fry. Aaron?
Thanks, guys. Oh my God. All right. I'm here to tell you about the unfished fry and why you should so most definitely come, okay? Or even volunteer. Yeah. So, I am an 18-year-old person, okay? A teenager. So, I hate everything. I hate everybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to work. I don't want to volunteer. Do work without money? No. Okay? But let me tell you about why you should do this for the unfished fry. It's actually really fun. Like I said, I hate everything, and I think it's fun, okay? Please. There's really good food, okay? Mac and cheese, fan favorite. Falafel, yum, okay? Green beans, come on. Not even a question. Now why you should help out? They're singing and dancing back when you're making the food. You get to interact with people that you may never have talked to before. And I mean, I'm a young person, so most of the people are a lot older than me, but I still have so much fun talking, connecting with people that I would never have talked to and never even learned about or thought about. So please, please, please volunteer or even just come. You'll have so much fun and it's really good. If you don't, sucks for you. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. The nomination committee is back, and we are looking for you. If anyone is interested in serving on the board or council, or just want to talk about leadership of the church, please reach out to me, and I will put you in touch with the nominations committee. We have started the process and may have already reached out to you as well. Understandably, you may be wondering, who is on this nominations committee, besides that annoying guy reading these announcements? Aaron, did you change the script? All right. Well, let me answer that question with the same response that my 15-year-old daughter says to me whenever I ask about what's going on in her life. Why do you gotta know stuff? Seriously, thank you to the nominations committee and for all their past, current, and future work. Have you signed up for the Friday e-news? It's a great way to get all the details on events and opportunities available here at First Unitarian Church. And with that, my sillies are out. I will be normal the rest of the service, and I will see you in a few minutes. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the worth and dignity of all who enter. We gather in community, understanding we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, identity, and theology. Our values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning-making. Together, we foster a spirit of gratitude and generosity so that we all may feel welcome and all can thrive. We are glad you are here with us this morning. Please enjoy our prelude, Pastorale by Giuseppe Sammartini, performed by Alan Hoffman on the organ.
I am the Reverend Sabrina Trupia, and my pronouns are they, them. I serve this congregation as sabbatical minister. We begin today's worship with a call to worship by Reverend Scott Tyler. We gather today to receive the blessings of trust. May the relationships in this room remind us we do not have to depend only on ourselves. May the quiet we share help us hear and renew our faith in that still, small voice inside. May the music sung inspire us to hold tight to the restorative rhythms of the world. May the words offered remind us that we too have a voice, one that must be trusted and shared. With our hearts open, let us begin. Let us worship together. Now please rise in body or spirit and join us for our hymn of the month, number 347, Gather the Spirit.
We light our chalice with words by the Reverend Scott Taylor. We gather today to hear the call of trust. Though our hearts have been bruised by broken promises and dreams deferred, may we listen again for that longing to repair and be repaired, that hunger to start anew. Like this flame, trust is something that needs rekindled again and again. May today spark the fire of a new match. Are we on? Haha, it works. All right, any kids want to come up for our, it's not really a story this time, it's more of a discussion. But it's good, I promise. Going once, going twice. Well, you're here, so I'll talk to you. The Soul Matters theme for the month is trust. What can you trust? Can you trust your ears, your nose, your eyes? I have a video to show you. The idea of the video is that you're supposed to count the number of passes that the white team passes the ball. Okay? So, go. Okay, stop. How many passes? 16. 17. Okay. Go ahead and play it. Mo. All right, we'll do it again. So as the video shows, some are able to count the passes but miss the gorilla. Some see the gorilla but miss the number of passes or some of the other things that happened in that video. I don't know why that's true. We probably have people in this congregation that could probably explain it better than I can. But we have been assured this is not an IQ test. It's not based on any kind of intelligence issue. It's just a question of perception. And it says something about what you perceive is not actually telling you the whole story. I have a day job, and in my day job, I deal a lot with eyewitness testimony. Most people believe that eyewitness accounts are the most credible accounts that you can get, but they are in fact completely riddled with error. Why is that true? Well, when you see something, you're not often getting the full picture. You see something, and then you see something happen quickly, and that's what you're paying attention to, but you don't actually get the full sense of what's going on. So take a car accident. You see a car smash into each other, but you miss things like what color the cars were, what color was the light, all of the above. Our brains can't stand a situation where they don't have the full story. And so what we do is we fill in the rest of the details with our brain. The problem is that they're not usually accurate. For example, I deal a lot with phantom vehicles. And phantom vehicle sounds really exciting, but it really just means an unidentified vehicle. It's not like a Scooby-Doo situation. But phantom vehicles, historically, through the time that I've been practicing law, were almost always described by a white van or a white SUV. If you really get them to talk about it specifically, they call it a white Ford Bronco. And say the adults know why that's interesting. Here, do you have any idea why we do that? Okay. So in the 90s, the most famous car chase was the O.J. Simpson case, and what was he in? A white Ford Bronco. But that was so seared in people's brains that every phantom vehicle is a white Ford Bronco. Again, no one's doing it on purpose, but your own biases and your own experiences allow you to make those mistakes. So the point of this exercise is to say you don't always trust your eyes, and you should always try to get the full picture when you're trying to figure out what the truth is. With that, I will send you off to your classes.
When we are present to each other's joys and concern, we affirm each other's humanity. Being seen and accepted in moments of struggle and celebration is how we build community. Now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and concerns. We're sending healing thoughts to Susan Ingham Knoll, who is back in the hospital. We wish a speedy recovery to Tony Muni, who is home recovering from a recent surgery. And that was what was written. Hey, it's great that you're here. That could be a joy, actually. And we're sending healing thought to Pam Gemple, who may be at home recovering from a broken leg. Yeah, okay. Okay. I had the joys and concerns. I had the concerns pulled up, and it went away. Okay. Yeah, I know. One of them was from Adam, who starts his job. Well, that's a joy, actually, but okay. I'm going to try this all by myself, and I'm going to be a big kid. Boop, boop. No, I got it. I need to do this. I mean, otherwise, why do we even have this? All right. Okay. All right. Next. Sure. Pam, this doesn't seem to want to. I was about to read them. This is maddening. I will bring my phone next time. Thank you. So, hey, thank you. So, the concerns are the fallout from the disastrous meeting last Friday at the White House and the impact it could have to the Ukrainian American community. Somebody remembering their brother who lived their best life despite severe autism, and whose birthday would have been last week. And a teacher and mentor being treated for cancer. We pray that their treatment gets easier. We hold these concerns with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. As a community, we also share our joys and celebrations with one another. And we have somebody's mother getting to a new care facility, so that's great. A Alyssa Hunter was recently married. Yay. Somebody from Chicago is saying that it's great to be present all the way from there. And I guess that it connects to the other joy that is Mike and Adam Lunter send you their warmest greetings from Chicagoland, and where things are getting settled at their new home. And Adam starts his job tomorrow. Yay. Bye, guys. We lift up these joys with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared. With many joys and concerns remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, please join me in a spirit of prayer and mindful attention. Today's prayer is my revision of the St. Francis prayer, adapted for these times or for you use. In the name of universal love, we pray. May we be channels of peace. May we pour compassion on the fires of hatred. And may we plant forgiveness where hurt was sown. And when there are doubts, let questions arise in hope. In moments of sadness, may we remember that joy is still possible. May we be inspired to console, to understand, and to love with no questions asked. Because we know, don't we, that only when we give away love, we become open to receiving grace, and only when we let go, we can find our way home. Amen.
Well, good morning. My name's Erin Milligan.
And my name is Emily J. Cox, and we are your Canvas co-chairs.
We're like your Canvas co-captains. So
Right.
during the Canvas season, you can easily identify us by these silly hats that we are wearing. Before we dive into it, I just want to say briefly that I'm so glad that that gorilla video is not an IQ test. Anyone else is feeling the same way. Emily has prepared a couple of notes, and we'll be a little bit more long-winded this week just because we want to talk about the Canvas a little bit more, but we're really excited about this year's Canvas, and we want to convey that to you all this morning.
So if you're not familiar, this is the time of year where we ask the congregation to pledge financial support for the coming church year, which starts in July 2025. So this is where you think about what you will be pledging, and the payments would actually start in July. No money happens today.
This is a time of year when we reflect on our connection to the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis, where we gather in person and online to nurture spirituality, build community, and advance justice.
The board is going to use the number that we are able to raise during the Canvas to determine the next year's church's budget. And our church is most healthy when 80% of our operating expenses come from our pledges.
Not 100%.
Yeah, 100% would be nice too, as Luke just pointed out. Yeah, that would be great. We are truly really excited this year because we are expanding the scope of the RE director position to that of a lifespan religious educator, offering programs for children, youth, and adults. I can tell you that for right now, I believe that the person is going to have a position called Director of Congregational Life, which I kind of like to envision is almost like a director of the cruise ship.
There you go. In addition to that position, our church home, it's a place full of precious memories, and it's also where we gather sustenance and inspiration to carry our values out into the world. There are more details about what your pledge funds in the packet that you'll be getting at the end of service. When you exit, if you go through the Dodson room, you'll have some lovely members of the congregation handing out your little packet. And if you have questions beyond that, or you just prefer to talk rather than read, please feel free to seek out Aaron or myself for more information.
We want to stress that volunteering your time is extremely important also. The church couldn't operate without both. We recognize that some have to reduce their pledges during these turbulent times, and we certainly understand that. Please know that whatever amount you're able to pledge makes a difference. Every size pledge is important.
And if any of you are able to increase your pledge, this would be an especially meaningful time. It would help fill in any gaps of people who have to dial back without losing the momentum that we've gained under Reverend Kim's leadership. The fantastically inspiring services we've had during sabbatical are a great example of Kim's ability to inspire and empower the whole congregation. This is a time we can take it to the next level with more opportunities for learning at all age levels and keeping our beloved church home in shape for our journey forward.
One option for your pledging, of course, as you all know, is to auto-renew. Thanks to those who auto-renewed already, and to the board and the council who have pre-pledged. On kickoff Sunday today, we have already raised $219 and $425 toward our total goal this year, which is $450,000. That leaves $230,575 to meet our goal in the next month.
We want to make sure to keep it fun, so each week we're going to have a drawing for different categories of pledges. Next week, oh, you know your lines so well, that's great. Next week, the winner is going to be able to get, this is an example, but the real thing that is going to be offered next week is going to be, thank you, Aaron, this lovely chalice, but the wax in it was lovingly and painstakingly melted and re-poured by Reverend Kim from previous, isn't that, I mean, if that's not a Unitarian relic, I don't know what it is. So one lucky person will get that next week. And starting next week, we will also hear every week from one of our members who will share their journey to First U.
Not to mention, if you turn in an increased pledge before March 15th, you'll be entered into the drawing for one of Cheryl Coulter's fabulous lemon-topped cheesecakes.
Ooh!
And if you previously put your pledge on auto-renew, you can still be eligible for Cheryl's cheesecakes. If you increase. I'd also point out that we will be raffling a hand-knitted hat made by Kathy Roush and a homemade sourdough made by Tom Finan.
So as we mentioned, please stop by the table in the Dodson room on your way out. The sooner you pledge, the more drawings you'll be eligible for, and all are invited to join us for a soup lunch today, right downstairs in Fellowship Hall. 4 types of homemade soups to choose from, and assistance will be provided by children and parents from our church school. Thank you.
Thank you all.
First Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. Your contributions support the mission and ministry of this congregation in the St. Louis region and beyond. All non-pledged donations today will go to the All Among Us, delivering care and advocacy to at-risk and underserved populations in St. Louis experiencing trauma, poverty, mental illness, and addiction. The offertory may now be taken. Ready this worship service that we are officially halfway done with Reverend Mason's sabbatical. I know. You're supposed to do it for the canvas, not for me, guys. Come on. Despite that, we have managed not to burn the church down, which of course is always a fear that I have. But for the most part, this has happened because of the work behind the scenes, right? Lynn, the worship committee, the choir, Alan, all of those people, always Mo. This wouldn't have happened without all of those people working really, really hard. And let's face it, we got really lucky that we have a sabbatical minister as good as we do. And I know it's not luck. For all your gifts of time and talent and treasure, we thank you. There are 2 readings today. The first reading is an excerpt from the book Doppelganger, A Trip into the Mirror World by Naomi Klein. Before we start, a few words about this book. It came about as Naomi Klein, the author of the books like The Shock Doctrine and No Logo, frequently gets mistaken on social media for Naomi Wolf. Very different. Feminist intellectual turned right-wing pundit. In her book, Klein looks at things and people who look similar to each other but really aren't. A sort of Alice through the looking glass story of the world in which we live. This excerpt discusses being able to detect what is conspiracy and what is a convoluted system. She says, when radical and anti-establishment writers and scholars attempt to analyze the underlying systems that built and uphold power in our world, including the proven existence of covert operations to eliminate threats to those systems, it is common for them to be dismissed as conspiracy theorists. In truth, it is one of the most battle-worn tactics used to bury and marginalize ideas that are inconvenient to those who wield economic and political power, or who feel personally attacked by anti-corporate, anti-capitalist, or anti-racist analysis because their critiques implicate them. For me, the reason to study and read and write about economic and social systems and to attempt to identify their underlying patterns is precisely because it's stabilizing. Yes, our world is still confusing after we understand the underlying framework, but it is not incomprehensible. There are always systematic forces at play, and a great many of them have to do with the core capitalist imperative to expand and grow by seeking out new frontiers to enclose. That same imperative set the rules, or lack thereof, that allowed a group of profoundly underwhelming tech bros to take over our entire information ecology and build a new economy off our attention and outrage. Our second reading is by the Reverend Rebecca Parker. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
Seems a little bit on the nose, doesn't it, that as we kick off Canvas Month, the theme of the month is trust. I don't know for sure that the people who put Soul Matters together thought about how March and April are pretty much traditional pledge Canvas months, but I don't know. Maybe it's not a coincidence anyway. The theme of the month is trust. And in this time of uncertainty and fake news, false reports, and opinion pieces, I was moved to do somewhat of a deep dive into the subject of trust and as it applies to Unitarian Universalism. So, to realize a bucket list item, I'm going to explore over the course of 3 Sundays, yes, I'm doing a sermon series, how trust intersects our faith, the faith that puts love at the center. The hope is that we can garner more tools from this very faith to help us in these times. So today, we're looking at trusting the narrative. And narratives are stories. Narratives present facts according to our interpretation of them, like sometimes we think a car is a white Ford Bronco. Sometimes we can even hold opposing narratives in our head. And in fact, some people say that this is the hallmark of a mature person, to be able to think 2 opposing concepts at the same time. And on one hand, it's easy to see that the narrative, the story, to be accepted need to be trustworthy. But sometimes we settle for believable, and of course, believable doesn't necessarily mean trustworthy. So personally, I've also been focused lately on finding news outlets I can trust, reliable, because in the smorgasbord of news outlets that we possess, the hundreds of them, there aren't a lot to prioritize facts, but there is certainly a lot of opinions. Although facts, while uncontrovertible, always come through the lens of the person that is saying them. Even the most neutral of fact giver has an opinion. And so they're reliable or not depending on how they were presented. And this reminds me that in literature there's the concept of the unreliable narrator. The primary voice of a story, a character of the narrator per se, which sometimes we initially trust, and in the middle of the book we realize that, oh, wait, we haven't been told the whole thing. And I love, since it's Oscar Sunday, and an example that I wanted to bring is the Wicked versus Wizard of Oz narrative, because in that tension, we get the original narrative, the original thought of the idea subverted. So L. Frank Baum wrote The Wizard of Oz, and that has the movie with Judy Garland attached to it, or The Wiz, different interpretations of it. But Wicked does something different. Wicked takes the original narrative and subverts it because of a question that the author of the original book, that then became a musical, that then became a movie, asked himself something. Gregory Maguire is the author of the book Wicked and other books, said in an interview that the idea for the book came to him when he was watching the movie, the one with Judy Garland, because he thought, oh, you know, Glinda and the Wicked Witch of the West seem to know each other because of an exchange that the two actors have. And so he asked himself, what? They seem to know each other. How do they know each other? Were they roommates in college? So another explanation for the events of the book comes up, subverting the narrative. And this is fun in literature, but it kind of applies to the idea that Naomi Klein was saying about conspiracy theories that kind of come in two flavors. A complex world is hard to explain, and a conspiracy theory is also hard to explain, but the complex world has the receipts. You can always go back and prove certain things. It's complicated, it's not a sound bite, but if you research the complexity, then you get the stability. Conspiracy theory, not so much. You can never find the truth. There's always, oh, the Illuminati, they want to tell you. No means of verification is the hallmark of conspiracy theory, which makes the narrative writ large difficult to trust under any circumstances. And that's why I was looking for, news outlets. But then I started to ask myself a question. Should I just trust the facts, or just continue that on its own? Or do we need something else that grounds us? Like a spiritual litmus test, for instance, because the narrative is there bombarding us and we can, it's hard to keep track. In other words, what narrative can we trust to be a compass, since the theme of captain, even when we don't know what narrative to trust out there in the world? Is there something like that? What can we use together with the bombardment of facts and fictions? Well, we are here. It's Sunday, and we came here to church. lifting up things of worth, which is the meaning of the word to worship. So what got us here? We, the assembled, are all here because we're all UUs, or aspiring UUs, or sympathizers of UUs. This interesting mix of rationality and heart-centered denominations. And so I want to talk about trusting the narrative of our faith. So trust is a big part of spiritual life, right? Spiritual trust could be what we call faith, but faith is not necessarily only that. And by the way, I just want to say, faith is not a belief that requires divine entity or a religious creed or dogma, because we can have faith where you use, and we have neither of that. Faith implies a worldview, a set of things we agree on, these two things. I had a theology book in seminary entitled Faith Seeking Our Understanding. It's a big tome. And back then I thought, oh, that's funny because I'm a UU, and for us it's more like understanding seeking faith. And this reminds me that the classic reasons to answer why we're all here, why all UUs are sitting in the pews in a lot of other places in North America, has become the source of cliches and quips. Why are we here? Because we're here because of deeds, not creeds. We're here because we were looking for a place for us, spiritual but not religious. We're here because we love ritual and we love nature, and some of us love the book Little Women, and we're delighted to know that there was a whole denomination attached to that. A lot of reasons. But those are the individual narratives of how we got here. That's not the narrative of Unitarian Universalism writ large, right? The narrative of what we are all about, what we UUs are all about, that's the one that I want to test the trustworthiness, because it seems useful at a moment like this to know if this bigger narrative is something we just, have, or if it's something that can serve as a moral compass for these times. And of course, no better time than now to ask the question. Because at the association level, UUs have just come out of several years of debate about changes to Article 2. I happen to know that most of you are probably familiar with changes to Article 2 because I saw the graphic downstairs in Fellowship Hall. I know that Reverend Kim did have a adultery class about it last year. We are all, most of us are aware that there are values instead of principles in this Article 2, but I don't want to assume prior knowledge. And so I'm just briefly going to say that Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association is where the purposes and values reside. It sounds boring, but it's important. Article 2 was where the principles and sources used to be before the change last June. And now there is the graphic and the values, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interconnection, and generosity. Prior to the vote to approve the changes, there was quite a bit of public discussion and quite a bit of disagreeing. You know what they say, you put two UUs together, you get three ideas, three opinions. The discussion was fierce, and a General Assembly for the past two General Assemblies at times bordered a kind of ugly discussion before the vote got called. And so some of the criticisms could serve as guidelines for what we want to do today. One of the criticisms that this new way of expressing what we stand for was too vague. What is love? Who knows? Love is a word that is diluted by use, right? Means everything, so it doesn't mean anything. Another objection about the new values is that the focus on love is a brand new idea. Why love now? We're abandoning tradition. We are not. And there are many ways of describing, love that are undiluted. But the point is, can we trust this new version of what we're about? Those were the questions, the comments, the disagreements. And to be completely honest, I always felt that the principles and sources lacked the element of accountability. For instance, that was one of my pet peeves when we had the principles in Article 2. The fourth principle, the responsible search for truth and meaning, I heard it misinterpreted almost constantly. Because in the fourth principle, the word responsible does all the heavy lifting. But this heavy lifting is not enough. It's too much for just one word to keep people from saying, oh, we can believe whatever we want. Even before the changes, I knew that wasn't true. We cannot believe whatever we want. We cannot have beliefs that clash with our values. We cannot have beliefs that support a narrative of destruction, like the narrative that comes out of the news these days. And the values make that clear, because now we have accountability. Within Article 2, in fact, it says, love is the power that holds us together, and it is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. So accountability is necessary because we're a faith of no creeds and no dogma, and so we need something else. And you probably have heard me say that because I say it a lot. Accountability makes up an important piece of trusting the narrative of our faith tradition. When we live into our values, we are accountable to one another, and by keeping our promise, this promise we make ourselves trustworthy, and we make our faith trustworthy, and we make our faith a beacon, because we know we can rely on it. And there's another piece to this trusting the narrative of you, and it has to do with the often voiced criticism that the new values come from nowhere. They don't come from tradition. Our tradition of Unitarian Universalists did not have love at the center. And one immediate rebuttal from the point of view of theology is that even if that's the case, which is not, just wait a second, even if that is the case, this concept of love at the center is not traditional, it doesn't matter. Because faith traditions, even the ones with dogmas and creeds, adapt to the changing times. And tradition, it's not always the right move in religious circles or anywhere else. I mean, even in life. So that's one rebuttal. It's okay. We need to be flexible. We need to have a faith for the times. But there is a second rebuttal that me, a UU history nerd, prefers. That's the one that addresses the history of Unitarianism and Universalism. Because we can demonstrate quite easily that historically our faith ancestors also held that love was at the center of our values, even if they didn't say that explicitly like we do with the graphic and the values. I found just immediately off the top of my head 2 examples of this among many. The first one is from Universalist minister Hosea Ballou. We teach this in RE as well to our kids. He writes in a treatise on atonement, "If we agree in brotherly love, there is no disagreement that can do us any injury. But if we do not, there is no other agreement that can do us any good." Which means if we love each other, if we put love first, then we know if we disagree, we will still be in covenant to each other. Essentially, love at the center. But this seems like an easy point, because quoting Universalists who had a theology of universal love to show that there is love at the center is kind of like, too easy. So let's find something more challenging from the Unitarian side, because the Unitarians are not usually thought of these love bombing people. They were more of an intellectual bunch, the Transcendentalists especially. Maybe they weren't interested in love per se, which is not really true when you think about it, because while they were interested in intellectual pursuit, they were interested in intellectual pursuit initially in a Christian sense, which is about love. And before the 1961 merger, the American Unitarian Association had values similar to our principles, and they listed love of man and love of God as one of their values. And love is just not in those proto-principles of the American Unitarian Association. There is a covenant, which is still existing in our gray hymnal, written by James V. LeBlake, a Unitarian minister from Quincy, Illinois, in 1884. It's a famous one many Unitarian Universalists know, and many of them have chosen it as the opening words forever and ever of their congregation. It's number 473 in the gray hymnal. Tom, you can look it up. And it says, "Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and help one another." That's love at the center, to seek the truth in love, to dwell together in peace, and help one another. So this is our narrative, historically, theologically. This is what we promise each other. Maybe not exactly in these words all the time, but it's there to counteract the narratives of destruction that seem to bombard us today in many ways. Unitarian Universalism offers the spiritual practice of love. And this practice, as I've just shown, has always been part of our heritage. It calls us to accountability because it is a practice. And because it is a practice, it is not a destination. And it's kind of not even a journey. It's a guiding light in our spiritual journey. So having found that we can trust this narrative, we turn to examine love. This word, often used, infrequently defined, and sometimes criticized because it's too vague. Rebecca Parker, the second reading we did today, told us there is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. And the poem concludes with, "We rest in this love." How do we do this? What is this love that we're resting in? I want to invite you to reflect on that question. More will be revealed on March 16 when we discuss trusting the process. Amen. Please rise as you're willing and able and join in the closing hymn number 86 in the gray hymnal, Blessed Spirit of My Life. Go in peace, help each other, center love, and come back on March 16th. Amen. Please be seated for the postlude.